Those two that had to be evacuated were here in Fulton County. This is the Fulton County election tabulation center. In effect, this is where all the votes will come in for Fulton County, Georgia's most populous county, where there are 750,000 likely voters on the rolls. I can also tell you that Fulton County has 177 precincts, and there is a cop on the beat of each and every last one of them, just in case. They want to make sure that these elections are safe, that there are no disruptions, and so far, Lindsay, so good.
All right, Mark Strassman in Union City, Georgia, for us this evening. Let's bring in Chris Van Cleve, who's joining us now from Phoenix. So, Chris, I saw somebody on Twitter this morning say it's crazy that people outside of the United States know about Maricopa County. But Maricopa County will once again be key in this election cycle. So the question is, of course, how long will it take for officials to tabulate those final results?
Well, Vlad, Maricopa County is a great place to live. I don't know why people wouldn't want to know about it, but it's going to take 10 to 13 days, the state says, before Arizona's vote counts will be finalized. And that's normal because so many people vote by mail here. And because of the verification process that goes along with those mail-in ballots, it takes extra time, particularly in close races. Even though if there's a big difference in one of the races, they may be able to call it sooner. We may be able to call it sooner, but it will take them up to 10 to 13 days, they think, to count all of the votes. We should tell you, we have just learned from the Secretary of State here about some bomb threats into a couple of polling places in Navajo County in the northern corner of Arizona. Also hearing about a handful of technical problems in Apache County, another small county in northern Arizona. So the bomb threats spread beyond just Georgia, certainly, into other battleground states.
Chris, what can you tell us about the Senate race there? We were speaking earlier with our political panel, and Chuck Rocha was saying that he believes that Arizona could end up being a split ticket state with people voting for Trump for president, but Ruben Gallego, a Democrat, for Senate by potentially large margins against Kari Lake.
Yeah, you know, the CBS News poll, the last battleground poll we had from Arizona had Gallego up by about 9 points over Lake. Now, both campaigns think the race is closer than that. Lake says she doesn't believe any of the polls but her internal polls, and those show her leading. But so far, those are the only polls we've seen that show her in the lead. So it is distinctly possible you're either going to see split tickets, or what we've heard from some Republicans is that they may just opt to leave the Senate line blank. So this is certainly a state where one of the things, if you look at the polling, Ruben Gallego is outperforming Kamala Harris here, and very well could result in a split ticket where Donald Trump could win the state, but Gallego wins the U.S. Senate seat that's being vacated by Kyrsten Sinema, who was a Democrat before she became an independent.
Some excellent reporting there from our Chris Van Cleve in Phoenix. And I agree with you, Chris. Maricopa County is absolutely lovely. It's just
I lived
weird.
There for
you did?
Decades, yeah,
really?
so I'm from there.
It's just weird that people in Denmark are asking me about it.
Yeah, Maricopa County, side of Arizona.
Oh, boy. Thanks, Chris.
All right, as we mentioned, exit polls are beginning to come in. So this will give us our first glimpse at the 2024 electorate. What are we learning about what voters most care about? What do we know so far?
All right, so we're going to start with issues that matter most to voters. This is really interesting. 35% of the people polled say the state of democracy is the most important issue. That's kind of surprising because I would have thought the economy would be number one, but the economy is followed there by a very close second. 31% say the economy. 14% say abortion is the most important issue facing them. Now, let's talk about the condition of the economy, how voters feel about that. 32% of voters say the condition of the economy is good. 67% say it is bad. If you are saying that, then you are most likely hearing the former president's message. In the last year, inflation has been at 21% of voters saying that they see inflation as a severe hardship. 53% say it's a moderate hardship, and 42% say no hardship at all. 24% of voters we polled say the financial situation is better than it was 4 years ago. That's interesting. 45% say it is worse than 4 years ago. 30% say it's just about the same. And finally, 7% of voters, only 7% of voters feel enthusiastic about the country. 19% say that they are satisfied. 43% of voters are dissatisfied. with the country, and 29% say that they are angry. So we're looking at those numbers, Ed. What strikes
These
you?
are the most preliminary bits of data we will get tonight. These will change. Nothing you see right now holds
Okay.
up even within an hour as we get more data. That number on anger,
doing-
43% or whatever, saying
Yeah.
that's, I would have thought that'd be higher.
That's
for
what I would have
example.
thought as well.
7% saying things are great. I can understand that, but I would have thought the other one would be higher. Look, what this is suggesting is the economy remains a top concern, but state of democracy was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, which side was focused mostly on
That's
that?
the question I have.
Both were in different ways, right? Because Trump at various times has said, if we let them keep running the country, you know, we're never going to be the way we were. But the democracy, the specificity around the future of democracy was more of a democratic message. So that may, again, very
But again,
preliminary
those
data.
numbers could change.
They will change.
Okay,
They
they will
absolutely
change.
will change, but they are the first sampling. You know, it's
Yeah.
that, what's the amuse bouche they bring
Yeah,
out
amuse
to you?
bouche. It's
And
a
you had
little-
a
it's a
big
little
dinner.
taste.
This
It's a
is
little
your
taste
this
of
is
the
your
night to
election
come.
amuse bouche
That's right,
on,
that's
on
right.
a little spoon.
The
all right?
big entree is coming
Much
a couple
more to
hours
come.
later after the
Yes.
polls close. All
Kitchen
right,
stays
Ed.
open tonight.
All right, folks, when we come back, love it.
I'm starving.
We're going to get another look at our exit polling data for some of those key battlegrounds, and we're going to bring back our political panel right here at the table. Stick around.
I like one candidate, but I don't like his behavior, but I like his outcome. And that's important. And I look at it that way.
Get all the CBS News election information at your fingertips, including full access to interactive election maps, push alerts on major races, plus breaking news and 24/7 streaming coverage. Get the free CBS News app now.
Come on, Julia. Oh, no. I will if you will. You go, gal. That's right.
Let me see if you can find me.
I want to make sure that my voice is heard, but also that I lift up other voices.
You can't write a better script.
Yeah, boy.
It's gonna be a ride.
Counting down to the polls closing. I will also show you all the results in each state as they come in, as well as the battles for control of the House and the Senate, which is very important when it comes to power and who wields the power in this country. And we will bring you that all-important race to 270 college votes that Lewis was talking about, the number that Donald Trump or Kamala Harris need to reach it, to make it rather, to the White House. Plus, you can follow the results by scanning this QR code on your screen right now and by going to our special results page on our website and our app.
Well, we're live right across the country tonight. We're with the Harris and Trump camps, and we're in some of the key battleground states that will decide this election. As we've said, James Matthews will be with Team Trump in Florida. Martha Kellner is here in Washington, D.C. With the Kamala Harris team. Dominic Waghorn is in Pennsylvania, where, as Lewis was saying, there are 19 electoral votes up for grabs. Cordelia Lynch is in Georgia for us with 16 electoral votes. Michigan has 16 electoral votes, and our Yusra El-Bagir is there for us. And Shigi Marike is in Arizona, where there are 11 electoral college votes. Let's go straight to our James Matthews, who, as I said, is with Team Trump in Florida. And James, earlier in the day, we saw Donald Trump and the former First Lady. They were casting their vote. I've also just seen a little, he doesn't put anything out on, I guess he does now on X, but Truth Social as well. He put out a bit of a tweet.
Yeah, hi, Alda. He's been busy on social media, indeed, in the past few minutes, posting this. A lot of talk, Donald Trump, about massive cheating in Philadelphia. Law enforcement coming, he posts. Now, this is an individual who opponents say will try to style this election as corrupted should he lose it, and a man who has been laying the ground for a legal challenge. So I suppose the question is that statement feeding into that master plan? Will he come here, as he intends to, the convention center in West Palm Beach? He's not far from here. He's in Mar-a-Lago. He'll have his own personal watch party with the great and the good. He will come here at some point to give a speech. And this place is getting busy, Yalda. Dozens of media already gathering at the front of the stage in the mosh pit before the stage. What will Donald Trump say? That's the question. When he comes here, as he's expected to in the middle of the night, will he declare victory despite what's happening at the vote count centers? That's what he has done before in the past. So will we see a Donald Trump who is trying to shape this result his way, no matter what the figures are telling us over the course of the night?
And Martha, you're not too far away from where I am. I'm hearing mixed things from the Harris camp. They're telling me they're certainly feeling very anxious right now.
Yeah, anxious, but I'm also hearing cautiously optimistic. They think that Kamala Harris could well have outperformed the polling, may in fact be ahead of Donald Trump, but take that with a pinch of salt. I'm at Kamala Harris's campaign headquarters here at Howard University in Washington, D.C. It also happens to be one of America's largest historically black colleges. Kamala Harris graduated from here in 1986 with a politics and economics degree. Could she return to the stage behind me as America's first female president? That stage is still being built. Bulletproof glass is being installed around the speaker's lectern. As for Kamala Harris, after the madness of the 3 months that has gone before, the most truncated presidential campaign in history, she's having a quieter day today. She made a few appearances on radio stations, making last-minute appeals to voters. She's also performed a few vice presidential duties, and she made a surprise visit to Democratic Party campaign staff elsewhere in D.C. But as I say, her team are saying that they're cautiously optimistic, but I think they're aware, this country is aware, that there could well be a tense and long night and few days ahead.
Indeed. Let's go to our Cordelia Lynch now in Georgia. And Cordy, I mean, Georgia is one of the first states that we're going to be looking at because, of course, polls close in less than 2 hours.
That's right. And we've seen record-breaking early voter turnout in Georgia. More than 4 million people voting early, 700,000 today. And we are expecting 75% of the votes to be counted within 2 hours of the polls closing. We're told we could expect a result by midnight. Now, back in 2020, Joe Biden turned the state blue for the first time in nearly 30 years. If Kamala Harris wants to repeat that success, she needs to get a lot of support from black voters in Atlanta, where I am, but also in the more diverse, more affluent suburbs as well. But 2 words on everyone's lips here in Georgia: election integrity. We have already seen 5 non-credible bomb threats in Fulton County, where I am today alone. The FBI say they appear to emanate from Russia. The Secretary of State in Georgia says they will not be intimidated, but this is a hotly contested and very contentious race.
Let's bring in our Yusra El-Bagir, who joins me now from Michigan. And Yusra, Michigan, one of those crucial swing states for Kamala Harris, part of the blue wall, the Rust Belt. She really needs this state to deliver for her. But you've been there all week, speaking to uncommitted voters, speaking to some of her supporters, but also speaking to Donald Trump supporters.
Absolutely, Yalda. I mean, Michigan is a swing state, but it's also significant as a bellwether state, an indicator of who might be the next president of the United States. They voted for the winning presidential candidate over the last 4 elections, starting with Obama in 2008, and they broke their 30 years of voting for the Democratic presidential candidate by voting for Trump in 2016, and then Biden narrowly won it by 2.8% in 2020. So it's anyone's guess who will win here. I mean, we've been speaking to people across the state, and I could really feel why this is a bellwether state, why it's such an indicator of how this race could go, because there's just a cross-section of American society here. I mean, you've got a huge black population. You've got a huge immigrant population, Arab Americans discontented, infuriated by the Biden-Harris support for unwavering support for Israel during its military offensive in Gaza and now in Lebanon. You've got young working class people, working class families who've been reliant on the automobile industry, hoping that Trump can revive the economy. But you've also got students in campuses across Michigan who are backing Harris, who want to keep their rights intact and are fully supporting her in her presidential bid. So as the polls close, we're expecting them to close at 9 p.m. Eastern time, 1 a.m. UK. We'll start to see what the picture looks like in Michigan, and that could be a sign as to how the country will vote.
Well, let's go to Pennsylvania and speak to our Dominic Waghorn. And Dom, I mean, a treasure trove of electoral college votes. All eyes have been, for the past few months, on Pennsylvania. Both campaigns have saturated that state with so many ads.
They have, and we've had the candidates coming here again and again because Pennsylvania, quite simply and literally, could well be the king or queen maker swing state in this election, not just because it has that demographic mix that kind of reflects what is happening in other swing states, but also because it has those prize, as you say, 19 electoral college votes, and it is split down the middle. It was taken by Donald Trump in 2016 by a margin of less than 1%. Joe Biden took it back for the Democrats 4 years later by just over 1%, and it really is, according to opinion polls, split right down the middle. And it is inconceivable, all but impossible, for anyone to take the White House without taking Pennsylvania along the way, unless there is a major upset in this election. But the bad news for all of us is that it is also likely to be amongst the slowest to return a result because of the rules they have about counting mail-in ballots. They can't start doing so till the morning of the election, unlike some of the other swing states. So back in 2020, it took till Saturday before this state returned a result, declaring it for Joe Biden by that very, very narrow margin. And in those days, when Donald Trump saw the election slipping away from him, he used that vacuum to fill it with suspicion, scurrilous rumors of election fraud and frivolous lawsuits. And he seems to be beginning to do so again now already, even while the counting is underway. So it is very consequential, this stake. A lot is at stake here. They say they've raised their game here. They've bought buildings like this, a former Bible factory, filling it with hundreds of vote counters. But will that be enough to a return result tonight? Probably not. Could be days before we hear how this very important swing state has voted.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go to one of the Sunbelt states now and speak to our Shingi Mararike, who joins us from Arizona. So many issues on the ballot today, isn't there, Shingi? I mean, abortion rights, Senate seats, and of course, the keys to the White House.
That's right, Yalden. This is one of those reliably Republican states that Joe Biden was able to win last time, winning by just over 10,000 votes, a very narrow margin. And this is also a state with a diverse ethnic makeup, one that's becoming increasingly diverse, particularly when you look at Maricopa County, where we are, where Phoenix is. 1 in 4 voters are of Latin American origin. Whoever wins here will need to fold them into their coalition of voters in order to do that here. And I just want to talk a bit about where we are. So we're at a polling station here in Scottsdale, which is in Maricopa County, where 6 in 10 voters in Arizona are. And the queue here has been around 30 minutes long for much of the day. You can see people going in there. And as you mentioned, Jowda, the ballot is two-sided. It is 79 separate votes, including the presidential election, but also vital bellwether issues like abortion, like immigration, things that both candidates will want people to turn out and vote for them on. Kamala Harris scores well on abortion, while we know that Donald Trump scores well on immigration. But I also think, like Dominic Waghorn was saying there, this is one of those ground zeros for election concerns, because last time a number of armed protesters turned out outside of the tabulation center out after the vote. Arizona typically will return its vote between 10 and 13 days. That's when all the ballots will be counted. And a defining feature of this election is the fact that we have one candidate already calling the result into question before the votes are counted. This is one of those places where that could happen. All eyeballs will be on Arizona if this election is as close as we think it might be.
Shingi, thank you so much. So you can see there our correspondents right across the country, and they will be bringing us up to date throughout the night.
Yeah, and so what do we have for you over the next 12 hours. And, well, the first polls close at midnight UK time, 7 p.m. here on the East Coast of America. And just look at this. One of the first states to close, Georgia, is one of those battleground states that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we can see people queuing up to vote, and we have been seeing that right across the country. We've also got Sean Spicer, who was famously Donald Trump's first White House press secretary. He'll be with us in the early hours as the results come in.
And we'll be getting the reaction from the Harris and the Trump camps. Both campaign teams are gathering for what they call watch parties. Trump in Florida and Kamala Harris right here in Washington, D.C.
So as we've been saying, every state has its say, but some states have a bigger say than others. Here's a run through of what you need to watch out for tonight. Now, there are 7 battleground states this year, accounting for 93 electoral college votes. A reminder, 270 is that magic number. Whoever reaches 270 will be the next president of the United States. And polls put the gap between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in those states well within the margin of error. No one really knows which way they'll go. The first is Georgia, where polls close at midnight UK time. Joe Biden won the state by 13,000 votes in 2020. It just gives you a sense of how tight things were 4 years ago. Polls close in North Carolina at 12:30 UK time. Trump won there in 2020. And Pennsylvania, this is the most valuable of the battleground states, worth 19 electoral votes. And it's where many analysts believe this election will be won. Polls close there at 1 a.m. UK time. You heard there from our correspondent Dominic Waghorn, who talked about the importance of Pennsylvania. 2 a.m. UK time, polls close in Michigan. Along with Pennsylvania, it's picked the winner in the last 4 presidential elections. So too has Wisconsin, but by a little more than 20,000 votes in the past 2 elections. And the third battleground where polls close at 2 a.m. is Arizona. The state went blue 4 years ago, the first time it's voted Democrat since Bill Clinton in 1996. And finally, Nevada, perhaps the epitome of the swing states, having voted Republican 6 times and Democrat 6 times in the last 12 elections. So 7 states, all with different demographics, issues and priorities that are expected to decide this race.
Right, let's get into all this then with our guests, Jerry and Omarosa. So first of all, which states are you, or particular state are you looking at as the possible tipping point in all this?
Can I give just a little background? That shot that you see at Howard University, that is a significant landmark for those of us who graduated from Howard. That's called Founders Library, and it's a very special place for Vice President Kamala Harris. She spent a significant amount of time researching there and studying there, but the backdrop was hand-selected by her for this special evening. So I wanted to just give that context because you're going to see that image throughout the night, and it is a significant part of African-American history as well.
I wonder if we can actually bring that shot back up just to show you, I mean, it's part of where the Kamala Harris camp is. And Omarosa, I mean, that is also close to your heart.
Yes, of course. Founders Library is where I spent tons and tons of hours studying for my master's and my doctorate. But I think it's also significant to recognize that there are tons of people who are there